going to type an egg pattern. Try to talk about all the variations that you can do here, starting out with just a nice egg pattern hook in the vise. And actually I'm not going to take this thread down much at all. Maybe about that far. We may get it a little bit further, but that's going to be our first step, is getting our thread, a nice thread base down all the way up to the eye of the hook. Here I'm using a McFlyfoam Nano Silk. You can use a GSP. You want something that you can pull pretty tight on though, that's not going to break. And then I'm going to go to about this halfway point here, and just let that thread dangle. The two materials that we'll be using on this pattern today, we're going to use McFlyfoam, and I'm going to use this nice orange color, and then I'm also going to be using some of this red color. It's just a really nice dense foam, and that's where you can do a lot of variation here. You can do a pink fly, you can do an orange one, you can do a red one, but I've cut a couple of chunks out here. So I've got, a little piece of the orange and a tiny little piece of the red. And what I have the red for here is I want that to be kind of a red spot on this orange pattern. So I'm going to actually just spread some of this orange out a little bit. I don't want to pull it way far apart, but just a little bit. And then I'm just going to take my red and I'm going to just set it in there. Maybe pinch it with my fingers, but that's all I'm going to do. So I've just got an orange and with this red piece just kind of sitting in place there. And I'm going to sit all of this on the top of my hook shank here. We're going to take two very, very loose wraps. So we'll get one in, just like that. And we'll take another in the same spot, just like that. And with that hanging and not pulled tight yet, now we're going to kind of grab our foam and we're going to try to get some of it kind of pulled apart, so it's spread out a little bit. And the weight of that bobbin is going to pull your material over towards the lens, which for me is fine, for at least for right now. Because right now I'm just working on getting as many of these fibers kind of spread out as I can. Then I'll turn it back up so it's straight up and down, and grab some of this other that ended up sucking its way around the bottom of the hook. So I want to pull that apart as well. So once I have that kind of material spread out a little bit, we're going to now crank down and take a couple of really tight thread wraps. And this is where either GSP or the Nano Silk comes in handy, because you can crank down on it. This is an 18-aught. It's not going to leave any bulk. So I've got a couple of turns right through the middle of it, pull down nice and tight. Now I'm going to take the material, the foam, I'm going to hold it and stretch it straight up. And I'm going to take my thread and we're going to take a couple of turns around the base of that foam on the top of the hook shank. And then we're going to pull that fairly tight, because that's going to compact this foam for us. Then I'm going to take a turn or two around my hook shank, and because I'm OCD, I'll probably do that a second time, and that's probably actually makes it worse, but let me know. So again, just a couple of turns around, pulled tight, nice and tight. Pull that down. We're going to come back onto the hook and go back up towards the eye of the hook. With that, I'm going to go ahead and just grab my whip finisher. We're really done with the thread portion of the fly. So with the whip finisher, probably 3 or 4 turns, 5. Doesn't matter, we're using the Nano, so it's not going to leave much, like I said, much of a footprint anyway. We don't want thread buildup. This one doesn't. This thread just doesn't build up. That's one of the wonderful properties of that. So now that I've got the whip finish finished, I'm going to go ahead and take the end of this and cut the balance off. So from here, what I tend to do, especially because I'm left-handed, so I'm coming into this way, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this hook just a little bit in my vise, just to give myself a little bit more clearance as I'm trying to make the cut here on this foam. It's still straight up in the air, like I had it before. And typically what I'll do is I'll use curved scissors like these. But again, they're made for right-handed people, and I'm not right-handed. So I'm going to pull that foam straight up and away, up from the shank of the hook. And then I'm going to try to start out a little bit low, okay, with my cut. And then as I make that cut, I'm going to kind of pivot my arm up so that now it's coming out in more of a crescent shape as we finish. So then I can just remove the excess here. So one of the things that, there are a couple of things. One that I always make a mistake on is I end up over trimming these. So now that I've kind of got that around the hook, and you can see that little red spot there, I can see I've got a little bit of extra here. But what you've got to be careful with is this makes a really nice sphere, or circle, yeah, a sphere. It's really easy to lose that spherical shape when you're trimming. So after we've, you know, trimmed a little, again, don't get out of control here. We're left with our egg pattern. You can see it's that orange color, but we do have that nice red spot we put in there intentionally. But again, you can tie this straight up orange. You could use pink with a red spot or an orange spot. I mean, whatever colors that you want to use with the McFly, you can come up with all sorts of variety of colors. But you're going to follow the same kind of a process that we did here. So give it a shot. I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised.